You've spent big on that shiny new GPU, that lightning-fast CPU. But what if I told you the single most overlooked component in your gaming rig could be quietly throttling all that power, making your expensive parts run hotter, slower, and noisier? When we map out our next PC build, we usually fixate on that perfect CPU and GPU combo, maybe dream about NVMe speeds or the perfect RGB glow. But case airflow, it often takes a backseat if we even think about it at all. Yet, how you move air through your case dramatically impacts your system's thermals, performance, acoustics, and even its lifespan. It truly gives you that focused, uninterrupted gaming experience your heart desires. In fact, optimizing case airflow is one of the few areas in PC building where you can make a noticeable impact without spending a whole lot of money. Whether you are trying to shave a few degrees off CPU temperatures or silence an aggressively loud GPU cooler, airflow forms the absolute foundation. So, how exactly does this invisible force work inside your PC? In simple terms, airflow is just the movement of air from one side of your case to the other. You pull cool air in from the front or bottom, and then you push that warm, used air out through the top or rear. When you execute this correctly, you create a controlled stream of air that efficiently cools your CPU, your GPU, even your VRMs, SSDs, and RAM, directing airflow over them before that hot air gets expelled. What often goes misunderstood is how even small changes in fan placement or orientation can disrupt this critical flow. Think of your PC case like a wind tunnel. You want that air to move smoothly, linearly, with minimal turbulence. We know how cables, cramped GPU spacing, or even poorly placed fans can easily break that invisible tunnel. In most situations, a front-to-back airflow pattern stands as the gold standard. That means your front fans pull in cool air, pushing it across your components and out through exhaust fans at the top and rear. Of course, this can shift a bit depending on your specific case design. One of the most overlooked factors in cooling your components is air pressure. This refers to the delicate balance between how much air enters versus how much exits your case. Positive pressure means you have more intake airflow than exhaust. This setup causes excess air to gently push out through any gaps in the case, which actively helps keep dust from sneaking in where it does not belong. We generally prefer this for quieter, cleaner builds, especially when you can filter all your intake points. Negative pressure, on the other hand, means you are exhausting more air than you are bringing in. This tends to create a stronger overall airflow through the case, but it also mercilessly sucks dust in through any unfiltered cracks and gaps. While it can offer potentially better GPU thermals in some specific configurations, it often runs noisier and accumulates dust much faster over time. Then you have balanced or neutral pressure, which aims for a near 1-to-1 airflow ratio between intake and exhaust fans. This can be ideal for neutral thermals and consistent airflow, but it demands deliberate fan placement and carefully matched fan speeds. Now let's talk about the unsung heroes, the fans themselves. Most cases support 120 or 140 fans, though 80, 92, and even larger sizes exist. You should always prioritize larger sizes because they move more air at lower RPMs, making them inherently quieter. But remember, placement trumps size alone. Static pressure fans are ideal when you need to push air through resistance, like dust filters or radiators. Conversely, high airflow fans perform better in open areas, such as the rear or top of a mesh case. For the best effect, your fans need to remain unobstructed. That means you route your cables cleanly out of the airflow path, and you make sure radiators do not block airflow from other components. As a general rule of thumb, place intake fans at the front or bottom, drawing in the coolest ambient air. Your exhaust fans belong at the rear and top, since hot air naturally rises. This ensures consistent thermal movement from front to back and bottom to top. If you ever find yourself scratching your head about fan direction, just look for marked arrows on the fan's frame. One points to the airflow direction, and the other shows blade rotation. If there are no arrows, the airflow almost always goes from the open fan blade side towards the side with the support struts and hub. Even your case's size and orientation play a huge role. A mid-tower ATX case, for example, typically benefits from 2 or 3 front intake fans, a rear exhaust, and perhaps 1 or 2 top-mounted exhausts. In full tower cases, you can add bottom intake fans or side-mounted fans to bring extra cooling to those high-wattage GPUs. These larger cases even support more complex airflow patterns, like vertical airflow from bottom to top, combined with that standard front-to-back flow. For small form factor builds, like those mini ITX cases, airflow becomes a much trickier puzzle. With limited space, every fan must have careful positioning. Intake usually comes from side or bottom vents, and exhaust often limits itself to one top or rear fan. In these situations, pressure balancing becomes much harder, and static pressure fans are absolutely essential. Then you have horizontal cases, like those for home theater PCs, or even custom open bench designs that completely flip our expectations. Here, air might flow vertically or from left to right, depending on the motherboard orientation. You really need to evaluate cooling based on how hot air will naturally rise within that specific layout. Good airflow is not just about raw temperatures, it is profoundly about noise. A cool PC runs quieter because your fans do not need to ramp up as aggressively. The trick lies in moving enough air without overworking your fans. Take some time to really understand and set up your fan curves by heading into your BIOS or using your motherboard's dedicated software. You can even try Fan Control, a highly recommended open-source utility that offers a wide range of controls for almost every single fan in your PC. A well-tuned curve lets your fans stay at low, quiet speeds during idle or light tasks, and only ramp up under heavy load. Larger fans certainly help here, as they deliver better airflow at lower RPMs. And please, avoid stacking fans redundantly. More fans do not always mean better airflow. Sometimes, they just add turbulence. Instead, focus on smooth, directed airflow from intake to exhaust. Test your system by logging CPU and GPU temperatures during idle, gaming, and stress testing, and then adjust fan speeds or placement if you spot any hotspots. Finally, remember that regular maintenance goes an incredibly long way. Even the best airflow setup can fail if your fans clog with dust. You should clean your filters every month or 2, and remove dust from fan blades using compressed air or a cleaning brush. We also recommend replacing the thermal paste on your CPU every 2 to 3 years, especially if you notice your temperatures creeping up over time. And just a quick tip, check your fan orientations once in a while. Mistakes happen, especially when fans look identical from both sides. So the next time you dream of that beastly new GPU, maybe first ask yourself, is your case truly breathing right? What's your go-to airflow setup? Share your thoughts with us, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the tech that truly matters.